Hello, good people of a sport mentality. Dr. Colin Robertson here. I've spent the past 3 decades, 30 years, working in everything from high performance sports institutes, everything from 4 Olympic cycles, Beijing, London, Rio, Tokyo, to working in international and national rugby, premiership football, and really everything in between, from grassroots all the way through to podium places. As an environmental physiologist, I've trained several people to climb Everest, row across the Atlantic Ocean, take part in the Marathon des Sables, and several people who've taken part in the Ironman World Championships over in Kona and secured a top 3 place. And today, what I'm going to talk about is really where I spent a lot of that time, which is guiding people towards making better performance-orientated nutritional decisions, because it's complex. When we look at the needs of our general society and their nutritional demands and challenges, that is complex. But when you add to that the intense level of training and competition that a high-performance sports athlete is engaged with, well, things need more fine-tuning. And there is a whole era of mythology out there with regards to, well, what's the best thing to do? What's the best approach to take? I'm a nutritionist. I will always and have always taken a stance of let's look at the diet. Let's look how we can optimize and structure a really good, efficient, effective diet. But we also have to get real. And anybody who has been at the top level of sports for the past 25, 30 years will know that where there is increased demand, there has to be increased innovation. And we utilize supplementation to such a great intelligence strategic effect. That's why the market is so big. There are so many people who are trying to get your attention and tell you what it is you need to take and when. And there is so much research around those areas. But the key principles will always remain the same. And sometimes less is more. If we look and take a pause for a moment at the protein industry. The protein industry has been the leading charge of the supplement industry for the past 30 years. And it's got to such an extent now and such a scale that most of its marketing is about how much protein is in one serving. And that's led the debate to think, well, how much can we actually absorb, digest? What can we do with that amount of protein? And whilst the truth is, in the research, there is no upper limit with regards to how much we can take. We know that there are more efficient dosages. And just to give you a bit of an insight, if you are a performing athlete, the most efficient rate of protein per serving, particularly if it's after a training or competitive event, is 0.4 grams per kilogram of your own body mass. But then it comes down to the quality of the protein. But then the key aspect of what people don't talk about enough, which is how does that protein make its way through your system? And we know that it actually works best when it functions like food. So we want supplements that aren't necessarily mono, that it isn't just one thing, but there's a step before the protein. And that's what I want to take you to consider now. I remember over 20 years ago, I was working at a big academic institute back in the UK, one of actually the world's leading sports science departments. And we faced a challenge. The professor who was in charge of our research group and our applied practice group was convinced, he knew that the evidence around omega-3 supplementation was compelling, that it reached almost consensus, that we saw a reduction in muscle soreness in the wake of training or competition. We saw increased protein synthesis. Omega-3 was clearly the nutrients that unlocked the door and enabled us to make better use of protein when we were either rebuilding, repairing, or building new muscle tissue. We saw other benefits like increased reaction time. So we knew that omega-3 was a part of the solution to amplify and optimize sports performance. But the problem was we could never get the athletes to be anywhere near the right level or ratio to experience the benefits. That approach that was similar to the old-fashioned protein approach, which is more, didn't work. As we just increased the total amount, either through the diet or through the standard supplementation, Very little changed. And in fact, as we increased the amount of standard supplementation, the athletes themselves, which at this time actually were Premiership footballers, just experienced gut issues. And so, scratching our heads, we were left wanting a solution. But now we have one. We have in our hands the world's only verified and proven effective omega-3 supplement, balance oil. The omega-3 itself, the DHA and the EPA, the two components we need when it comes to sports performance, is encapsulated within a olive oil, a high phytonutrient olive oil, which is itself anti-inflammatory and also functions as a prebiotic in the gut, which I'll come back to in a moment for you high-performing athletes. More importantly, with over 1 million independently verified and analysed test results, we know that it works 98% of the time within 120 days. And the other 2% just take a little bit longer, typically an extra 30 days. So we have the means by which we can put you in the right level. The level you need to be at is above 8% total fat is derived from omega-3. The ratio of the cell needs to be omega-6 to 3, less than 3 to 1. And we can do it. And when we do that, we unlock human potential for recovery and to optimize sports performance. Omega-3 should be to sports performance as automatic as when we consider our carbohydrate needs and when we consider our protein needs. It's the essential step that opens the door to those other processes. But let's go back to the gut. Time and time again, the toll that the exercise, the training, the competition takes on the gut. There are numerous, endless studies, and some of the world's brightest minds working in sports science are focused on the gut microbiota, the impact of prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics. We know time and again, we need to nurture the gut. And the best way to do that, the most sustainable strategy, is through a prebiotic dietary supplement. We have a solution for that too. Xenobiotic, essential dietary fibers, beta-glucan 1316. We know that we can help anybody, but particularly a high sports performer, to normalize the gut environment, to optimize the good bacteria that are not only functioning on your behalf with regards to your immune system, meaning that you can remain injury and illness free, which means you have more opportunity to train. But remember, the gut is the center of the human universe. It's in that place that absorption and digestion utilizes the nutrients we consume and sends it out to those places they need to be. It's the key place for you to enable any type of development at a muscular level, at a neurological level, at a cognitive level. So you have to preserve, protect, and optimize the gut. And as I've said, we have a solution for that. And then let's consider the essentials, which too many people overlook. Every biochemical sequence in our bodies relies on a sufficient amount of micronutrients being present. They act as signaling pathway indicators. They're either a part of the chain of command going forward or the resolution. They play an integral role in immune function and every process by which the body has to initiate, whether it's tissue development, tissue recovery, restoration. You need to have every vitamin from A all the way through to K and beyond. You need to have those minerals in there. But not all multivitamins are equal. Sometimes, again, the more approach is dominant, and people will market and broadcast off the notion that they've packed so much in. But that's not how things work. Synergistic interaction, avoiding the body's tendency to do a snatch and grab. And what I mean by that is you could take a multivitamin that is packed to the brim, overloaded with the recommended daily allowance of everything. But if your body is so overwhelmed by that multivitamin and it knows it needs vitamin D, then it'll take vitamin D and the rest of it, unfortunately, can charge through the system and really not have much effect. We know this. It's nutritional physiology, biochemistry 101. A long, long time ago, when I first went to university, my professor said that most multivitamins actually just lead to expensive urine. We don't want to waste any of our strategy and certainly any of our money on something that has no functionality. Extend and Extend Plus are a synergistic blend of vitamins and minerals that we know through science, through research, through innovation and application, raise those circulating levels of vitamins and minerals so they can be put to best use. It's a way to take the first step daily on your nutritional and dietary behavior to ensure you have a sufficient amount of those micronutrients available to facilitate the processes around the body. We call these 3 steps a health protocol, but I'm very fortunate. I've spoken to teams of athletes at every level all around the world. I've presented the exact same protocol and called it the Advanced Sports Protocol. And the best nutritionists in the world have taken notes and recognized that what I'm saying is true. And what I'm saying is true for you. If you're active within sports, if you're an athlete, recreational or professional, these are probably, in fact, I'm certain, the essential steps that you need to take to optimize your dietary practice.